great. We are live. The great transition is happening. It is everywhere. It is all around us. It is also inside of us. It is what we are becoming. It is what we are entering. It is what nature is inevitably pushing us towards. It is our future. It is our present. And it's what everything in the past has happened for. There is a major, colossal, indescribably great transition that's taken place,
Why is it so
right?
great?
Why is it great? Well, we
Why is it so
said
great?
there.
First of all, hello
Uh,
everyone, and second of
Hello,
all, why is it so great?
everyone.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
I don't know how this happens and stuff, but already, I think Emma looks like she wrote in a Russian language, maybe. Michal in Israel, Azuken in Colombia, David in Quebec, Steve in Norway, Sheila in Nairobi. That's on Facebook. I didn't see on YouTube yet. So hi
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Unbelievable to
There's
to be to
action
be here with everybody.
happening, action on YouTube
So
as well.
why
Mhm.
I woke up feeling absolutely terrible today. So tell me, why is this so great?
Oh, well, we've talked about it before that it's twofold great. It's great as in it's going to be much better than what we have now, but it's also great in the sense that it's
It's great and it's
that it's
great.
it's awe-inspiring. It's epic. It's really really major, meaning it's a change in every sense and every aspect of human engagement. So why did you wake up terribly today? What happened?
Oh, because the last few days before that were so amazing. So you know how it works. Uh,
All right.
the in one of the morning lessons with our teacher, he was talking about acting. I don't remember when it was, but he was talking about how in the group together, we're constantly trying to, and we're constantly inspiring each other. We're constantly reminding each other about this greatness, about what we're aiming towards, what this real future is. Why? Because um, the illusion that we're in is so thick. We have no way. I mean, everything is just built on exploitation. So he's talking about lying to your. I'll call it lying for a better word, for lack of a better word, to your friends. Tell them how great everything, about how good it is, what the love, how good love is, how good connection is, how good it is to be together and to help each other. And so somebody asks a student, some wise guy asks, I I don't feel good about lying about, saying that everything's good if I don't. And how did Rob answer him? He said, "You lie about everything else in your life, so lie
Mm-hmm.
that you love your friend also."
It's a really interesting phenomenon, like lying. Isn't it like something that only has to do with the human species, right? Isn't that
Stuff.
the
Everything is
case?
such a. Everything is such a lie. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I mean, the
hard to.
concept, but before that, even like just the concept, the ability to say about something that it's false or true, isn't that like a uniquely human trait?
Of
Like
course,
it,
an animal is dealing only with instinct. Either it's if he eats something and it's distasteful, he's not going to eat it again.
so
If he,
the whole scrutiny, the whole analysis of truth and false is something that is particularly human. There's
of
it's
course, the human,
completely human.
yeah, the
Okay,
human has the option to
and
accept
we
that
and to accept that something is true
is
or
is
false.
true, even if it doesn't. Like an animal, if he feels that he's up against something that feels bad, he moves, right. You take a horse or any animal, he's going this way and something feels bad and he moves that way and he's going this way. But a human says he's up against something that doesn't feel good,
All right, I see what you're saying. So
but he
you're
understands there's a bigger.
so your
He's not.
your your interpretation of it or view of truth and false is basically the animal follows the instincts, so the instincts are the truth compass for the animal. So what's
Yeah,
yeah, okay. So what's the truth compass for humans? That's essentially what I'm trying to ask because
that's the wisdom of Kabbalah. That is the truth compass.
you cannot. This isn't something you can say to people who, you know, did
I'm saying
have
I'm
nothing,
saying it to
don't
our
know
special
anything about.
audience here. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
sure,
this to
sure.
anybody.
But okay, but
Why? Okay,
so
so
there
you
would
asked me to
have to
justify
be
it.
there would have to be then some some awareness of nature's laws similar to what animals have by instinct. We humans would have to develop such an awareness, and only that can truly be our compass.
Imagine we can have that instinct. We'll call it a second nature. Okay. But we have to learn it. It doesn't come just from birth. And the purpose of that, a bird isn't like, let's fly south this winter. That's going to be amazing. There's no kind of joy in it. There's no emotion in it. He's just doing what he does. But for us to have to learn it, it anyway. Let me give you an example of something that I saw on social media. It's coming to mind
All
now.
right, all right.
I have a really good friend from childhood. We were best friends growing up. Really great guy. Um, and he posted something about there's some really Costa Rica decided that there's going to be no more plastic by, I don't know, next year, the following year, whatever. There's going to be no more plastic or something like that. And also there's some cheap land. And he put this thing out. Let's buy a bar or whatever in Costa Rica. Like, who's in? Let's open a resort, like
Sounds
something in
good.
Costa Rica. Okay, yeah, sounds great.
Sounds great.
And he had like, I'm posting about these profound spiritual things, and 20 people are clicking like, and he writes, "Let's go to Costa Rica," and you got 5 million people like, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so um, here's the thing. Uh, he lives in New York, in Manhattan. Okay, so in Manhattan, what do you have now? You have issues of race and all these things, right?
Okay.
These are all progressive, liberal, educated people who want to go to a country where indigenous people live and buy land and set up shop and operate their kind of lifestyle on somebody else's land and bring their business model to somebody else's land. If there's we don't even understand. Whoa, you're going to basically replicate your colonialist the thing that you're protesting against in New York. You're going to go and set up on this small island over there. Like, you're going
Hmm.
to set up your business. What about, do the people want you to move there? Suppose they do or they don't. It's not important. But the mindset is, we don't really see the ramifications of what we're doing. So what are you going to do? You're going to move there, and then you're going to start importing. Maybe you're going to grow everything on the island. You're going to start employing local people, paying them with your dollar. It's so, all of the solutions. Did you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I don't know where you want to take it because there's a couple of aspects here. I mean, or angles to this. You can say. I mean, sure, there is a certain hypocrisy to everything that we do as human
That's the
beings,
point.
and it's
That's the
not
point.
just. And yeah, if you're talking about the whole truth and false thing, so everything we do is,
It's like,
and
let's find another
really,
place to exploit.
and it doesn't matter who, I gotta say, it doesn't matter if it's liberals or, and I can find you similar examples on the other side of the political spectrum, and I can find other examples in in how governments act, in how citizens act in different places in the world. The human activity is a lot of the time tainted by hypocrisy, but
All the time.
yeah, exactly. All the time, tainted by hypocrisy. That's more accurately, but that's because we it has to do with us. I think it has to do with two things. One, it's our human nature. We're driven by our egos, and we always look for maximum benefit. And two, we always try to justify ourselves with regards to the the cultural standard that we measure ourselves against. So we always come up with a plan to beget the maximum pleasure, the maximum benefit, at minimum cost. That's our nature. That's the E equals MC square of the human ego. That's how we operate. And then we also try to make it justifiable in our own eyes, um, which we measure opposite the environment that we appreciate. Because you can live in a certain place. Some people will appreciate what you do, some people won't, and you will follow those that you appreciate.
I
Um,
was I was think I was trying to think it
so we
through.
have
Like,
no
suppose there was.
compass. We have no objective. We have no objective. Um,
That's what
um,
I meant by saying the wisdom of
yeah,
Kabbalah, because there is no otherwise. It's like, okay, so let's play it out. 50 people, 30 people, they buy some land in Costa Rica, they open up a place. It's like you talked about 20 shows ago. What happens if we go colonize Mars? You're going to ruin it, just like we ruin Earth. If we
yeah.
don't change, what are you going to do down in Costa Rica? You're going to sell stuff. Okay, you're going to make pollution. You're going to have it doesn't matter what we're at a dead end. Humanity is at a dead end, and it is in need of a vision of a new future. I live in a small college town in New Jersey here. A lot of built-in jobs because of the university. Okay, there's also a train that commutes to Manhattan from here, so it is also a commuter town. A lot of built-in kind of stability in this town. And last weekend, I was walking around town. Stores are going out of business already. So, if in a town like this, where you have a university, which is like a built-in economy, and it's a commuter town to Manhattan, which is like a built-in kind of stability. If things are going out, if stores are going out of business here, then in other places where there's not so much stability, they're going out as well. We don't yet understand what the future is in front of us. I mean, the Kabbalists understand that it's changing. I mean, capitalism is in its sunset. uh, I don't know if I should say weeks, months, years. Maybe our guest today
I would
will be able to
say
talk
uh,
about that.
I would say that probably the place where the the undeniable, relentless, hypocritical nature of human activity plays out is economics, and
Big time.
and it's going to change big time as part of the great transition that we're now undergoing. Whether we recognize it or not, it's already is changing, and for that, we have a great guest to discuss this with us. Give him a drum roll. Okay, we're gonna have with us Ronen Avigdor. Let's bring him in and then mention to our viewers who this is. So we should. Okay, I see a picture. I see a picture. We might even have the person until he
So
connects. Yeah.
if everyone remembers, Ronen is an economist. Okay, there he is.
Hello. There we go. Ronen Avigdor, can you
Yeah,
open your mic?
you look so fresh and sunny.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we
Yes.
hear you
Okay,
perfectly.
great. We hear you
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah. Seth, you were starting to do the intro for Ronen, so go ahead.
I was going to say that in all of reality, our guest today holds a very unique role because he is the one person who is discussing on such a deep level the the economy with with the Kabbalist, with our teacher, with the Kabbalist, Dr. Michael Lightman. And it is such a unique, the conversations, the show called The Solution is so interesting. The perspective is so unique. I mean, the last show you did, I think the show started out like going beyond time and space. I was like, well, I thought we were going to be talking about money. What's going on here? Um, but
Time is
it,
money, man. Time
time
is
is money.
money.
Wow, that's a nice one.
Ronen, the what we're up against, not up against, what the transition that is happening. Man, we talk about it. Saf and I talk about it. We talk about it in the lessons every day, what the world is going through. I don't even think the people who are talking about it for hours every single day even can comprehend what the transition we're going through.
These are truly historic times. By the way, I heard the beginning of the show, and I would like to ask honestly, frankly, would you like me to lie, or would you like me to act, or would you like me to be truthful?
I would like, I'll speak on behalf of both of us, even though Asaf didn't give me authority to do that. I would like you to tell the truth, but coat it with as much lies as you need to in order that you don't freak people out too much. So try and give us the truth like a good parent. Try and give us the truth without frightening our audience. Not frightening because it's all good, but sometimes a kid doesn't want to listen. So
Yeah, that's fair
you
enough.
gotta
Listen,
I agree. Yeah, give us the
even before we
truth with
start,
give us the truth
even
wrapped with beautiful
even before we
lies.
start,
Yeah.
even before we start, and since I acquired my taste in music like in the 80s, right? So please be considerate. But it reminds me The Last Resort by the Eagles. If you know the song The Last Resort,
Hotel. Oh, that's not Hotel California.
nope. It's the album. It's from the album Hotel California, but it is called The Last Resort. And Seth, it's exactly what you've talked about. That
Wait,
us,
I gotta hear it now. Can you hum it?
you have to hear it.
Can you hum it
It's
for a
like
second?
we're going to ruin everything if we are going to restart what we have accomplished so far without changing the DNA, the human DNA. Then it's going to be like a preview again and again and again. That's the
So,
song. What's
so
about, and I strongly recommend you hear it.
if my childhood friend came to you to help him come up with a business plan for his resort that he wants to make in Costa Rica, what would you tell him?
Well, first of all, there is no personal escape, not even for like 50 families or something. We are talking about an overall change, really like a paradigm, a new paradigm, and we have exhausted the current one. That's true. Now, if you want to restart, there is no point actually in restarting something that has proven to be wrong as far as the changes that the world is undergoing in the last few decades, which pushes us closer and closer together on one hand, and on the other hand, human ego keeps growing and tearing us apart, and we see controversy and we see hate whenever we look at. Okay, so basically, as long as we stick to that pattern, I'm not too optimistic. However, I wouldn't call it dead end as you just described it. I would say, like, and Asaf knows the world pretty good, a crossroad. Okay, we are a crossroad. We are at a critical crossroad, and basically the choice is ours.
Um, okay, I want to start laying some going into some nitty gritty details here. I'll just mention to all our viewers that at any point in time, guys, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching from, tell us where you're watching from, as always, if you haven't already, and so we can see, different places in the world in this conversation, and throw questions at us. We'll try to integrate it and weave it into the conversation. Ronen, let's talk about what's happening right now in many countries. We saw this a few months ago in the U.S. being a thing. It's a real big thing right here in Israel. Now, this whole discussion about should we be, as citizens of a country, be given corona grants, COVID grants, so to speak. What's happening? I'll talk about Israel because this is the situation I know best. But I'll just say in one word, the government said, okay, let's give this kind of little bit of money to all the citizens, and then all the citizens kind of revolted and said, come on, you're giving us like a little bit of money to have a beer, like what's that good for? Might as well.
Just so everybody, it equated to what, like $400, right?
Something like that on average.
Okay.
You'll get like 100 more if you have a kid, 200 more if you have two kids, something like that. So that
Enough
kind
to
of
buy some groceries
right
for a week.
And the public,
2 weeks.
the public basically said on social media and so on, and in other venues, what's going on here. This is not right. Now they're trying to revise the plan. What do you think from the perspective of the laws of nature, where the future is taking us? This step right now, giving money to citizens, these corona grants, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What do you think of this?
Well, that's not an easy question. Basically, if the main purpose is keeping people alive, keeping people not hungry and with sufficient means, hang in there. Well, that's I think a very very worthy cause. However, if the purpose is stimulate the economy and encouraging personal consumption in order to encourage the growth and so forth, so these are artificial goals, not nature goals. Because actually, the laws of nature does not require from us growing the GDP. Doesn't mean for us to be happy and content with our lives. The purpose of the new economy should be allowing the person to grow, not the economy to grow. The economy should serve the growing of the family, of internal growth, of development, spiritual development, and not the development of the GDP. Now, getting back to what you asked in the beginning, I think that one of the very interesting question is, are we supposed to hand everybody the grants, both the poor and the better off, or just maybe not give money to those who really don't need it, and pay more to those who really.
That's one of the reasons why there's a backlash in the public about this whole decision. Like, why are you giving just everybody the same amount of money where maybe half the people don't even need it, and the other half, it's not even helping them because they're too poor. So
well,
it's not.
If you think about social justice, it's like it's like self-evident. Well, let's give more money to those who really need it, and don't pay the others. How this is like a typical left, typical, let's say, democratic point of view. However,
Okay.
are you able to think of an answer, a worthy answer? Why is it important enough to pay everybody? What's the cause? What's the result could be if we pay everybody and not just those in need? Are you
Well,
able
Well,
let's
to think of something?
let's look at the goal for a second. What is the purpose
Mhm.
of not the purpose of the politicians? We already understand
Yeah.
what that is. What as society, what does the goal need to be for society now? Because if the purpose of the money is to get people out shopping again, probably if you gave everybody more money and they all went out and spend it, it would stimulate the economy and everybody would make money. That would be good. So, but if the purpose is to keep everybody fed, there's definitely got to be better ways to do it than this. So what has to be what is the right way? Was that your question, Asaf? What is the right way to distribute?
uh,
Should
I'm
the government
I'm
be?
intrigued by Ronen's question now. Like, what's a good argument to give everyone the same amount of money? And one thing I can think of is populism. But that's like from a leader's perspective. What's a good argument to give everyone the same amount of money?
Solidarity.
Okay.
Solidarity.
So you're looking at
Well,
it as an educational move to an extent.
you have to take into account that once you start paying and welfare and subsidies and grants only to those in need, you exclude everybody else, which is a large chunk of the population. Then you start characterize people like there's a saying like those are takers and those are makers.
Hmm.
That's anti solidarity. So there is a point in giving everybody the grants, even though it's not like economically efficient. But
Right.
we're not talking just about economic efficiency, but about social efficiency and solidarity, which is very important looking ahead.
So what would you then add to that step? How in order to take us so that it will really takes us towards solidarity and towards like how can we make it a step forward towards the new kind of economy so that you know what I mean?
First of all, it takes time, but I think right now, I think that let's say that the 1% or the 1/10 of 1%, or I don't know, at least to cope with like coercion or something like that, but rather tell them, listen, you are one of us and we are one of you and no one is guilty. If I were in your shoes, I probably do the same what you do right now. We need to come together. This is a mutual challenge, the biggest we had in the last decades, and we need to put the efforts together. And therefore, I do not exclude you from anything we do as a state, as a society, and we want to gain your trust. We're not going to take your money. It's not a pitchfork economy. We are all together in the same boat.
Okay, do you think there shouldn't be any conditions, or what should be? If so, then what should be the conditions for people to accept a COVID grant so
Well,
that, yeah.
they say in Hebrew, I don't know what's the translation. You put it like, "Im en kemach en Torah." What's the
No,
translation?
if there's no flour, there's no Torah, but that can refer to, you can also very, very uh, commonly translate it as like, if you don't have your necessities, you can't develop as a human. You can just
Right.
kind of, yeah.
So if you are bothered, if you can't sleep, if you lose sleep overnight about what you want to give, what you will be able to give your children breakfast in the morning, then your mind is totally consumed. The ears are not open to anything else.
Right.
Instinct. So that is why I think if the purpose of the grants is actually to allow people to acquire bare necessities, I don't think it should be conditioned with anything. But
Mhm.
they
So
once
everyone in the nation should have their bare necessities provided.
yes, and if you take the U.S. for instance, there are over 18 million Americans that don't. Okay, and if you
Mhm.
look at social let's say Medicare, so there are over 25 million who don't. And just now, because many Americans lost their job, and in some cases the job goes with
The
Medicare, with
healthcare, yeah.
Right. Right.
insurance. So it's like a vast tens of millions of Americans. Okay, so if they are bothered with that, they can't go to the doctor in the midst of a pandemic. So we can't talk about education, a new world, and rules. Nothing. First of all, take care of the necessities. That's like a must.
Well,
Oh,
making sure that every person in the country, in every country, has food. So the first thing I think of is before even allow, as an adult, the first thing, as a younger person, I would, of course, as an adult, I'm saying that's impossible. How would you do that? And no one let the politicians. I mean, that's like the first kind of instincts that start to come up. How are you going to do that? And what is it? Communism? And you know, uh, I think it's the right. I
We
mean, it
can
has to
afford it
be.
easily. We can afford it easily. Do you know how much food good, decent, prepared food we throw each and every day?
I heard I heard the
We
states.
can
It's like,
feed like 10 times fold
right.
oh,
the entire nation. It's just a matter of decision and caring and deciding that
but
this
the
is our mutual task.
we opened up the show just talking about lies and lies and lies, and if you came out and said you want to, right now we're throwing away 40% of all the food in the United States, for example, and if you came out, and even if it would only take 30% of that, if you would only, it wouldn't even take all of that 40% to feed all of the starving people, but still you would have uproar. You can't give away all that, because it's
There
the story.
is this mind lock, right? This knee jerk mind lock kind of reaction that says you have to work, and tell us whether you agree with it and to what extent you agree with it or not. Where you do
Mhm.
agree with it, where you don't agree with it, and tell me, Seth, if I'm expressing you what you feel correctly here. There is this attitude, immediate knee jerk attitude to what you just said. Let's give everyone their necessities and develop from there. People will immediately stand on their 2 feet and tell you people need to work for what they're getting. We can't have people just, free eaters or whatever you want to. Is there such a word in English, Seth? Is
Free
that
eater. Yeah, we're going to put in the glossary of the show. Just look in the
okay?
description below.
So, what do you say to that? What do you respond to that? And is that,
Listen,
yeah?
hypocrisy is like it's really intertwined in everything we do. And you were right. You talked about it in the beginning of the show. So basically, if you take, for instance, the food stamp program, okay, in the U.S., it's like over 15% of the population, every is food stamps, which aren't too generous, by the way. It's like under $2 per day per person. Okay? It's not like a generous plan. And it is always under pressure to be cut and cut and cut and so forth. So if you take the food stamps plan, and there's the EBT card which you use, and there has been research and people are saying that it's fraud. People are taking advantage. They buy lobsters. They buy fancy food with the food stamps. Actually, if you look at deception, there's under 3% of the program is misused, but the vast majority, 97%, are actually using it for the purpose it was meant to be used. So of course it's hypocrisy, but I agree with you. This is something we can't overcome with morality or with good explanations, even the best explanations, because this is human nature. I mean, it's not going to change. It's not going to change.
So that's why we keep talking about these blows from nature, because it is so difficult to get. Like, why can't we all? I mean, David here in Quebec says he has 120 kilograms of flour in his house. So if anybody needs, you can go. You can just private message David. But there's enough food for everybody. There's enough resources for everybody. And we can all get. I mean, everyone. When we had. There was a storm called Katrina, I don't know, like 8 years ago here or something like that. And there was no power and everything was down. And it was one of the most wonderful times to be in this area, because all the neighbors were helping everybody. If oh, come over, we're making soup, or oh, we have some canned corn or whatever, come over here. And you'd build a fire in the fireplace. Everyone was sitting around. There was no electricity. You'd sit around the fireplace and play a game with the kids, and there was like no phones, nothing was working, and everybody was just happy.
We're starting to see these similar initiatives now. In several countries here in Israel too. Is this something you're familiar with in the U.S. now? I didn't see. I don't think I read.
Think there is the sympathy for the first responders, right? So people are trying to help them. There is such a phenomenon. It's not like something which we changed in reality, but it says something about us, that we feel inside that people are making sacrifice. People are overcoming their personal difficulties in order to help others. That's a good start, basically.
I want to give a specific example here. Seth, sorry if I did I. Do you want to?
Go ahead.
Okay, there was a specific example that happened here in Israel. I don't know if it happened in any other place, but so people were getting some grants from the country even before the one that is now in discussion, and they established one of the social media channels established a fund and said, look, if you don't really need your grant, put it here and we will direct it to those who need it. And within, I think 8 hours it was, or something like that, they collected over 500,000 shekels. That is, again, in a matter of hours. So we can't say that that there is no inclination for people to somehow help each other. So first of all, what would you say to that? Do you think that is a step in the right direction? How do you interpret that?
Well, usually when we hear what the wisdom of Kabbalah is saying, it's pretty much like black and white. There is no point in helping, not in helping, but there is no point in giving. There is no point in being generous. There is no point in establishing a social business, because behind all this, behind all of this giving and generosity and considering everybody else, there's the ego, and there's the the evil inclinations and so forth. However, I do think that if we basically try to be more sensitive and caring about each other, and we do initiatives such as the one you described, it opens people's heart, and this is like a good start. It's a head start in the right direction. We need to really treat it as a start, not just as the end mean. Okay, we need to move forward from that.
What do you add? What do you add to it? What would you add to it?
Well, not being content that, okay, we have helped some less fortunate families, and we did our did good, and then next day, like, I'm getting back to where I was before.
Oh.
But we need basically to come together and understand that that nature requires us to change and to become closer together as if we are in one boat. And this is a process. Sometimes people, they ask you, listen, I need a solution now. I want a solution right now. Now, our solution, the wisdom of Kabbalah, talks about a solution which is, it takes time, it's process. We change in this process. Conditions change in this process. It's an educational process. You can't educate anyone by command. Okay, it takes time, and this is something to understand. That is why I said that as long as we keep people or we give people the bare necessities, then we will have the credit to use the time properly in order to change.
Can you talk about where the wisdom of Kabbalah sees the next few months, the next, what forget it, we don't have to put time onto it. What is the next thing that's good that we will see, and how can we move through this in the way that we are most in harmony with the process that's changing?
Well, the worst scenario is us not understanding what nature requires of us, and then the wisdom of Kabbalah says another blows will come. If it's not virus, if it's not a virus, it's something else. I mean, nature has an ample means to convey to us the messages he wants to convey. We keep on, going head to head without really trying to understand the process and the crossroad we are in right now. However, not being pessimistic, we have a choice. If we start reorganizing ourselves and the various social systems, just to say, listen, this is the beginning of a change. It's not just a pandemic. It's a sign. Okay, it's a sign for us that time requires us to change. If we start, a long time to change, but we will get, as we mentioned it the last time I was here, positive feedback from nature. It's going to become much easier than it looks right now.
Asaf,
Oops, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, there is something that David asked here. First of all, we're getting all kinds of responses here from a lot of people who are watching. We are noticing the questions, guys, and we will try to weave some of them into this discussion. There was a question from David Mancini about whether, it's related to an item I wanna show you guys and talk about. So I'll just put this item on. David, this is for you. So, okay, so check this out. Tell me if you can see this. There you go. Okay, so the super rich are calling now for higher taxes on themselves, essentially, to pay for COVID-19 recovery. So basically, there's a group of 83 very, very wealthy individuals, the likes of Abigail Disney and Jerry Greenfield, and that kind of the co-founder of Ben and Jerry's ice cream is Jerry Greenfield, and other people, and they're basically, look, something's happening. It is somewhat unprecedented. These group of people, 83 of them, think of one Jeff Bezos, in terms of like the wealth. So people that are maybe not Jeff Bezos, but somewhere in that area, not that far from it, 83 of them have come together in some way, wrote a letter together. They're saying, governments, take more from us. We don't need all this money that we have, and you can make use of it to help people, to help this crisis. So is that a good thing? Is that something that is supposed to happen? Is that a step towards the future? Or, we started the show from hypocrisy. So what are we seeing here? How do we interpret what's going on with this?
I think well, there are two stages here. The first stage is saying it's never going to pass. It's never going to pass. It's not going to go through. I remember Warren Buffett sitting and showing his tax returns and saying, "Listen, I'm paying less tax than my personal assistant does, and she like earns like 100K a year. So please tax me more. I'm willing to pay more taxes. It was in the Obama era, and the law didn't pass in the House. Okay, so you can say these people want to alleviate their conscience, so they're just now, they're signing in, but basically it's not going to go through. They're going to keep their money and being being respected. That's like the first step. But let's move on. Let's pretend, or let's say it's gonna pass.
Yeah,
Okay?
let's say, yeah.
Okay, so the House votes, and somehow miraculously it passes, and rich people will pay higher taxes. Okay, what's going to happen with the money? Is it going to be properly distributed? Is it going to fundamentally change the situation of each and every family in the U.S. or in the worldwide? I'm very doubtful here. I think that again and again, money is going to find its way to the top. And again, we don't blame the top, because each and every one of us, if we were in their shoes, we will probably vote the same and do the same. Okay, so trying to artificially keeping the current system alive, even by generosity and contribution and wealth tax and so forth, is not going to change the basic flaws of the system.
So, you first.
No, go ahead.
No, this is a major thing that you're saying here. So you're saying, I'm going to be blunt here. You're kind of saying to the rich people, we don't need your money, right? This isn't the problem. Maybe your money can help put a band-aid, but we need a whole new system that created this that will prevent this inequality to begin with.
And in that new system, and in that futuristic new system, the rich will indeed volunteer, not by laws, not by regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that this sounds like a lie. Now you're lying to us, right?
No, listen.
No, this part's the truth.
How is that possible?
I know it's a simplistic example, but I don't have any, for lack of a better one. It's like in a family. Seth, you have children. Are you you know what? If you treat each and every one of you as like your close family, very close family, and intimate family, would you not share everything? And not, by the way, it's not like communism and giving everyone the same portion, because if you have several kids and one of them has special needs or other needs, everybody gets what they need, not on an equal basis. It's not like an absolute equality, but you say, listen, these are my kids, I have to take care of them. So exactly that. The rich guys will eventually contribute most of their wealth to society, and they will be appreciated. They will be, Bala Sulam writes about giving them medals and so forth. I mean, they're going to be really, really respected. Right now, most of us hate the rich. I hate to admit it, but we do. We idolize them because we want to be like them, but deep inside we hate them.
Hypocrisy.
We blame them for our
the hypocrisy at its best.
And in this futuristic model, the better off are respected. They are the ones helping the society. They are the ones enable each and every one of us to be free as far as taking care of the bare necessities in order to develop internally, spiritually. It's a very balanced model.
So you're talking about the concept of rich needs to change from having more means and more power over others through the use of capital and money, to having more appreciation of how much from others based on how much you contribute to others. Essentially, you're redefining the concept of being rich. You're saying,
I want to add another thing to the equation, and Bala Sulam writes it as well. He says that eventually the gates of competition will not be locked. I mean, again, if we are the more fortunate, so even if in this futuristic model, we still want something to aspire. We still need the need to compete. The question is, what are you competing about? Okay, is Jeff Bezos that Jeff Bezos was like he was worth 130 billion 2 weeks ago, and now he's worth 183. Do you think changes anything in his life or in his self appreciation? It's like it's numbers. Really, it's numbers. Okay, so that is why we see Bala Sulam says that eventually even the most rich or the most fortunate people in the futuristic society, they will still have the urge and they will still have the satisfaction of competing. But the question is, what about? About what? About bestowing to the society, helping the society, allowing society to keep this model.
Guys, we're talking about things that sound so ridiculous and far-fetched that it's hard to grasp. So
Why?
you think it sounds normal that all of a sudden everybody's going to want to help everybody?
Listen, I've been around rich people most of my life, okay? Because I work in the financial industry, and I've been around rich people for many years now, and I can tell you that most of them, they do not work for money anymore. It's the ego that keeps them going, and it keeps them going because how big am I? How rich am I?
Excuse me. You know what my dad tells me basically every single day of my life? You're not going to change human nature, son.
He's right. We talked about
we're not going to change human nature. Nature's going to change human nature.
Per our request.
Exactly. That's such a small but huge difference that makes all the difference. Okay.
Let's step back a second and just refocus, and then we're going to dive back in, okay? Because what just let's get a grasp on where we are so far. We're saying that the whole economy as we know it is going to go through some kind of transformation. We're talking about every person's going to have just going to recap what just happened here in the last 25, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Every person gets their necessities met. Okay. And the super rich, instead of going from 130 million to 180 million so that they can feel that they're the greatest, some kind of transformation is going to happen. They're still going to have this raging ego inside, but instead they're going to get that importance by being good.
And by getting appreciated by
being appreciated for that. Okay, so let's just take all of those crazy concepts and just put them on the side for a second, and let's answer this question by Dr. Tim Milano on YouTube, and then let's come back and see how we can bring all of this together. Okay, so Dr. Tim Milano, and I don't think, hello, Dr. Tim, I don't know where you're from, but I don't recognize seeing you here before. So the question is, why are this is just a more general wisdom of Kabbalah question, okay? And then we'll bring it back to the economy. Why are humans the only thing on the earth that have to learn the laws of nature?
Oh, what a beautiful question. It's a great one.
Would you like to answer?
I'll say a few words. Sure. First of all, that's a super Kabbalistic question. This is something that Bala Sulam himself asks the reader in one of his, seminal essays, the introduction to the book of Zohar. Like, what is our role in this whole chain of elements in reality, and why do we have to learn the laws of nature? Well, it's because, as opposed to all the other levels of nature that know the laws by instinct, they follow them like a program. They know them, they feel them. The ant, millions of ants build together an anthill without anyone sitting for a second to think about it, and millions of birds, fly together, or thousands of birds fly together in a magnificent way, and so on. And we don't know how to cope with each other in an integrated system and with the rest of nature around us in a way that works with this magical harmony. But because we don't, we are consciously separated from nature. And by being consciously separated at first, we can then become consciously connected at last. And we can achieve that magical harmony of nature, that perfect connection between all opposites in a conscious manner that doesn't exist on the still, vegetative, or animate levels of nature. That uniquely belongs to the human level of creation. So that's why we don't know the laws of nature from birth inherently. We have to learn them by developing our consciousness. So, but how, Seth, where did you want to take it though?
I wanted to see where it's going to go. Let's also, I see all kind of discussions going on YouTube and on Facebook too about selfish people and evil people and terrible things that happen and rich people. Let's also remember what we're talking about here. The movie, so everyone, so Corin and Patricia, everyone, think about it. Okay, Dr. Tim is from Michigan. Hey, Dr. Tim. So think about it.
Come here again, Dr. Tim. We have a lot to discuss.
We're looking, we're viewing the world. All of these things that you're writing now, we are viewing the world through a corrupted, like through dirty glasses. We're viewing the world through our own, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's called will to receive, like the ego. Everything is, what can I get? I saw someone, maybe it's Patricia. Yeah, my experience is that people only want me as long as they can use me. And when they can't, they throw me away. Patricia, you're right. And you do the same thing. You may have a different character where you do it in a much softer way, but we don't do anything in life if it doesn't benefit us. I don't grab a drink unless it makes me feel better. I don't scratch my forehead unless it makes me feel better. Otherwise, I would just stay frozen like this and I wouldn't move for the rest of the day. If I get the most pleasure, I just wouldn't move. So that is the software that is running in us. And as my dad said, we're not going to change human nature. But as Ronen is saying, we're moving into a kind of world, and we're using this wisdom that we've been given to answer Dr. Tim's question. We don't have it by instinct. So that's what we're doing here. We're learning that there is a process happening in nature, and we can, by changing what the goal is and understanding that everybody, the best thing is to feel that everyone loves me. That's the best. When I feel loved, I feel confident. I feel like I can do anything. And I can see somebody who's driving in a, all by himself. I could pull up to a gas station with my beloved next to me, and we're so happy and we're laughing. And someone could pull up in a Lamborghini all by himself, and he gets out, he's trying to impress. But I'm here in my little old, junky car. But if I have the person that I love next to me and we're laughing, he feels worse. We feel better, right? It's an example we can all relate to. We want to change our perception of what's happening. There's not a problem with a person being rich, and there's not a problem with a person being poor. In fact, what we saw in Russia during the revolution was they killed all the managers and all the owners, and then there was nobody who knew how to manage it and run things. So it's correct, according to nature, that some people are managers, some people know how to hold on to manage all this kind of money, and other people are like this. The thing that we need to do now is just switch the operating system of the machine. The machine itself was designed by nature. Some are fat, some are thin, some are black, some are white, some know how to manage, some know how to labor, all these things. This was designed by nature. Now our thing is to just change the software that's operating inside of it. So now, Ronen, Asaf, if we can take, from Dr. Tim's question and this whole ridiculous future that I'm trying to hold on to, that Ronen told us about, where everyone's going to all of a sudden, we're going to take care of the needs, the basic needs of all of humanity, and that the people who have the ability to manage and generate this kind of wealth are going to use it for the benefit. Let's try and marry it all together as we come to the end here.
This makes me very optimistic. Listen, even though these are difficult times and there's human suffering in a scale we didn't see before, but it brings me to an optimistic overview that time requires us to change, and the patience that nature had very slowly draining out, and things are getting more and more compressed. And this is eventually for the benefit of all of us, because time has come to change, and we have to hasten our development, or else. And let's we rest the bigger reward, the huge reward we have, which will be basically living in society, which enable us to sustain ourselves in a normal and acceptable standard of living, no more, no less, and enjoy the internal development, the spiritual development, the being loved, as you say. These two combined are what
We see questions from Corin and Jake. Hey, Jake. And Alice Silva, Lara Silva. There's a lot of questions. I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to be able to have a chance to get to everyone.
We probably don't. But I was looking at all of them, and I want to try to. I think what Ronen just said really helps some of these questions, speaks to them. I think we need maybe just in the few minutes that we have left, before we read this amazing list of all the places in the world that were connected to this conversation. Maybe let's just all of us say a few more words about what that new drive will be like. What will it be like to wake up in the morning and go to work? What will work be about? Let's take our viewers to this fantasy that we're talking about, to this fantasy economy that we're talking about. I want to say, Ronen, I think you got something there. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
I listen. I want to be realistic, because we keep on saying that the wisdom of Kabbalah is not like something, like spiritual and detached from the real world. On the contrary, it is very, very concrete, and it acknowledges human nature, and it has boots on the ground, right? So I want to say like that. Right now, millions of people have transformed from working in offices to working at home, right? Is it really that different? When you wake up at home, and instead of driving 2 hours to the office, you work at home, but you do the same work with the same pressure, the same clients, the same systems, everything else. Is it really that different? I would argue that the answer is no. This is not the transition we're speaking about. Okay, so that is why when we say, like maybe it's like futuristic and utopia and so forth. On the contrary, this mega event, this pandemic, teaches us that we can change technically many systems that we live in right now, but these do not make us any happier or content or less pressured and so forth. So that is why we talk about a fundamental change, not just like technical changes, as big as they are. It's not the same thing.
Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I want to say that Yvette and everybody else, I know Asaf Bright is going to give it to us at the end of the show that we didn't get to all these questions. So we will, at the beginning of the next show, we will please everybody bring your questions on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we will make sure that we get to all these questions. We really care about them, but this topic is very, very big. Ronen, we spoke about doing a whole series of shows, and this is the second. We're going to have to do many more because I feel like we barely even took the first bite of this of what's going to happen, and it's very important for us to see it before it happens, to be educated about what's happening as it comes. We have somebody here from Nepal today. I never saw that before. So Nepal, Ukraine, China, Colombia, Holland, North Carolina, San Francisco, New Jersey, Nairobi, Kenya, Colorado, Turkey, Michigan, South Africa, Connecticut, Toronto, Queens, Minnesota, Sweden, Quebec, Vancouver, Angola, New Orleans, Argentina, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Russia, Kentucky, London, Mexico, New York, South Carolina, Brooklyn, Israel, Washington, D.C., Northampton, England, Miami, Los Angeles, Brazil, Germany, Bergen, Norway, Pittsburgh, Ohio. We are all doing this together. We will enter the new world together. We will enter a world of love. We will see it in our lives. It will be good for everyone somehow. Hang on to each other in that network above everything that's going on down here. Be together in that network. Ronen, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much, and I would gladly come again if you ask me.
You will be asked. So yeah, Thank you, everyone watching everywhere. We'll see you on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, The Great Transition. See you there.